I've been inspired this week, and not for the first time, by Tom Delahunt's blog and various tweets he's done this week. I'm going to start by reading one of his poems. So this is Tom Delahunt. The Key. How we yearn to have knowledge of the unknowable. What pain when it comes to pass that it was never there to know. It was the unknowing that was and is always the key. So what I want to talk about is unlearning. Unlearning is something that quite a lot of us are doing in our adult life, and for some they get the advantage of having the opportunity to do it as children, and I'll talk about that in a moment. So for me, my unlearning is my feelings of stupidity. So I have always felt that I'm a bit stupid, a bit slow. I've mentioned this before when I've talked about my dyslexia, and it was my assessment for dyslexia that told me that I was intelligent. You know, these scores up in the 99.8th percentile of intellect, and yet there's other aspects of me that are on that first percentile, so there's this huge discrepancy that I have talked about before. But that discrepancy has left me feeling stupid, and unknowing that, unlearning that, is a process, and it's one that I have to renew daily. Some days it's fine, that's not a problem. Other days I fall back into old habits. So for me, as I say, it's about feeling stupid, it's about seeing obstacles, but for me, because of the support I had from my parents growing up, I've always seen obstacles as challenges, and I'll get there. I may not be able to do things as fast as everyone else, I may not arrive at the same time, but I will get there, and I know I'm going to make some sort of convoluted route to get there. I'm not going to go the direct way. Very rarely do I go the direct way, but I get there in the end, and that's part of my learning and unlearning. I sort of have to remind myself that I don't have to follow the conventional route. I don't follow it in my clothing, I don't follow it in my taste of music, I don't follow it. And sometimes I can get sucked in to that knowing that happens around us, that this is how things are done, and then I lose my way and I get lost. It's only when I unlearn the conventions and start to relearn who I am that I find my way. Well, the same has been true for many people during lockdown. If you think about it, a baby doesn't know that there are things that they shouldn't be able to do. So they will develop at their own rate, depending on the environments they're in and the stimulus around them. But they don't have a concept of, I can't do that. So take the simple paperclip. For a child who is maybe 4 years old, and you say, oh, what's this? What can you do with this? They will come up with loads of really interesting ideas. They will be very creative in what this paperclip is and what it can do. You show a child in year 6 the same paperclip and they'll say, oh yes, you stick 2 bits of paper together with that. End of story. They know that because they have learned it. In order to get back to that state where that paperclip could be a necklace, it could be a bracelet, it could be a chain for grabbing things, it could be a hook, it could be a twister, it could be a fidget of some sort, whatever they decide it's going to be. To get back to that state, you have to unknow stuff. You have to unlearn the right answer, if you like. We are taught very much the right answer. Now, I've been talking about a curriculum of hope. I've talked about pedagogy that underpins the curriculum. The curriculum isn't the problem. There's things to be learned. We're learning at the moment that there's stuff we have to unlearn in the curriculum, especially the history curriculum, because the curriculum has been taught with very much a white British stance, and that does not represent a lot of people in society. There are aspects of our own history that we need to know about in order to understand where society in general has come from, the shame of it, and the glories of it. Both things need to be learned. Okay, so that's a bit of unlearning. We're going to have to unlearn bits of our history in order to move forwards and learn new bits. But what underpins it is our ability to actually, we don't have to be taught this is it, this is the answer. There's whole things to do with problem solving that I've talked about a lot in the last few blogs. The idea that we need to think creatively. The only way we can think creatively is we have to unlearn some of the constrictions, the constraints that our education has given us. So we need to unlearn a lot of things. Now, for some people, lockdown has been a terrible experience, very negative, very damaging. But for others, it's been liberating. For some children, they have managed to unlearn that they can't do something. They've managed to unlearn that it's an obstacle, and they have discovered that actually it's an opportunity to find another route. And that is something that would be terrible to lose as schools go back. Surely that's something we want to harness, this ability to unlearn and see things afresh. Lots of our experiences at the moment we're seeing afresh. You know, we went out in the car today because we had to go somewhere that was actually a bit of a drive away to get stuff we needed for our fish in the garden. And the route was fresh because I wasn't driving it all the time. So I was seeing it as though for the first time. Sometimes we read something that we've read before, but because of a newer experience, we read it differently. We have unlearned the baggage that took us to the first reading, and we've managed to see it from a different angle. I think for some of us that's been true of the way we view the natural world. For some people who thought that they couldn't live without cars and travel and aeroplanes, they're finding that they can. The working from home. There are things we have unlearned about how we teach because we've had to think creatively and find new ways to engage with the pupils that we have, whether they be students at uni, students at school, little toddlers, you know, coming into reception age nursery. We need to do some unlearning. We need to be sure that when we are teaching, we're not teaching the way. There isn't a way. There are so many paths we can take, and sometimes we have to unlearn stuff in order to get there. The barriers that are often the biggest barriers to face when we're dealing with children with special needs, for example, are the barriers that come from a rigid system that looks at data that is collected in one way, that requires a right answer. Sometimes there isn't a right answer, there are several possible answers, and some of those are actually not answers, they're paths to find a possible solution. So we do need to do a lot of unlearning to see things afresh, to discover our own strengths and abilities that we may have, you know, things like I often think I can't sing, and then somebody will come up and say, oh, that was beautiful, and you're like, whoa, but I can't sing. So I have to unlearn that and think, well, maybe I can reach somebody on a different level with my singing. I'm never going to be some great singer, however, but I might have ways and things to offer with my voice. We unlearn a lot, but to do that we have to have space and freedom and opportunities to take time out, to see things differently, to talk with different people and share views and think, wow, maybe it doesn't have to be that way. At the moment, for several reasons, we've got the coronavirus reasons and the lockdown reasons, but we've also got the Black Lives Matter reasons. We have a lot of unlearning to do if we're going to move forwards in a way that benefits all in society. We need to unlearn aspects of our own history in order to come forwards and see things from another perspective. Somebody said it today on the radio. I've heard loads of things on the radio, things that people who have said this is their experience, and I would never have even considered it because it's not my experience. But that doesn't mean it's not a valid experience and one that we need to be aware of. So I'm thinking about taking time out, using any lessons we've learned from lockdown, such as, actually I can do it, I just need to have the time to find that convoluted route to get there. Like I said at the beginning, I normally get there, but I don't normally get there directly. I go all over the place to get there. Maybe we need to give our children at school time to go all over the way to get where they need to be, and allow them to unlearn the I can'ts and the only answer is, and see things from a new and different and hopefully more hopeful perspective. Thank you.